students. In this occasion, we will discuss about treatment as prevention, the role of healthy expenditure in controlling epidemic through antiretroviral therapy. Aligning ourselves with one of Sustainable Development Goals, aka SDGs, specifically under SDGs 3.3 among 2 and 8. We will talk about how antiretroviral therapy, aka RT, as the best known method for treating HIV serves as control on the epidemic. For this study, we first used data panel analysis covering the 22 years worth of data across multiple countries regarding HIV, with a focus on the few African nations, whose HIV prevalence spanning from 2000 to 22 been notably recorded to be the highest among all the countries in the world. However, we discovered that out of the 10 countries chosen, one of the countries, namely Zimbabwe, was dropped from the entry analysis due to large amount of missing data that won't be representative if imputation is applied.
That being said, we will first discuss about how exactly have the countries been faring over the long 22 years against HIV. As seen within the visualization, it appears that the average HIV prevalence over the long 22 years ranges between 6.2% up until 27.56% of the country's population, whereas Swatini is still holding the highest HIV prevalence average at 27.56%. Due to the country itself seemingly being part of the two smaller countries within the region, this number actually implies an impending danger of rapid HIV spread across the country if no measure is taken as soon as possible. The next graph shows the trend of HIV prevalence over the 22 years among each country. Swatini can indeed be seen to have an increasing percentage of HIV prevalence, reaching its peak in 2014. This trend also seems to be applied similarly to its neighboring countries of South Africa, Botswana, and Lesotho. And although at a glance South Africa HIV prevalence seems milder compared to the others, the fact that it is part of the bigger country raises the possibility that there is a bigger number of people infected by HIV in the country among the region. Comparably, Uganda, that is located further than the other 8 countries, appeared to have a more stable trend across the years, keeping its number around 5% before finally declining significantly and approaches zero starting from 2019. After performing the Hausmann test, it required that out of the 3 variables student including country GDP per capita, health expenditure, and ART coverage. ART coverage appears to be the only fixed model out of the 3, making it the only variable most likely to be related to HIV prevalence. By plotting our data, HIV prevalence is plotted based on the ART coverage in that year. On S1 in this cluster of data, ART coverage needs to be steadily increased before HIV prevalence can finally decline. Generally, the HIV epidemic thus can be assumed to have fallen under the control. When at least, ART coverage has reached 75%. In cases like South Africa, however, HIV prevalence still increases despite the growing ART coverage, where based on the plot, even after the coverage reached 75%, South Africa's HIV prevalence remains higher than when ART coverage was lower than 13%, proving the difficulty of controlling and detecting the spread of HIV in a bigger country.
In the plot visualization, health expenditure and HIV prevalence, although its HIV prevalence increased in the few years, health expenditure remains relatively similar, as what in this data point shows a notable decline of HIV prevalence when their health expenditure is increased. The same trend can also be observed in Lesotho and Malawi. In fact, all tests and treatments related to HIV in the aforementioned countries are fully funded by either the government or by international funding, like the Virgin Project, as mentioned by articles published by the UNAIDS and Virgin Project. These 3 countries perfectly reflect just exactly how health expenditure affect the HIV prevalence in a country through ERT coverage. Thank you guys.